All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to our Midwest Grows Green Giving Tuesday update. My name is Ryan Anderson, and I am the manager of Midwest Grows Green, which is a sustainable landscaping initiative of the 501c3 nonprofit, the IPM Institute of North America. We're a nonprofit based out of Madison, Wisconsin, and our mission is to advance sustainability in agriculture and communities through market mechanisms based in integrated pest management. We have our full team here today, so I want to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. They work on Midwest Grows Green, but also our other sustainable communities programs, which include Green Shield Certified, Pest Defense for Healthy Schools, and our TIC IPM working group. So we'll start off with Leah McSherry, and then Lorelei Huvetter will follow after.
Great, thanks, Ryan. As Ryan mentioned, my name is Leah McSherry. I am my current title is the Marketing and Community IPM Specialist, and I also work on improving sustainability in communities, primarily through a few different programs. The main one being Green Shield Certified, which is a certification for pest management providers that commit to using integrated pest management to solve pest problems. And I work on a few other projects too, but I'll turn it over to Lorelei to introduce herself.
My name is Lorelei Diveter. I'm the Sustainable Communities Coordinator. I work with Midwest Grows Green and the Pest Defense for Healthy Schools initiatives.
All right, thank you. This session is being recorded right now, so we will post it on our Facebook, our Twitter after the session, but if you're able to join us, please do. It's also going right now live on my personal Facebook. I'm not able to post it on Midwest Grows Green's one. Just an overview of what Midwest Grows Green is. Our mission is to educate and empower citizens to take sustainable landscaping action that reduces harmful runoff into our waterways, protects the health of our most vulnerable citizens, and reduces negative impacts of pesticides on non-target species such as pollinators. We developed this mission last year, and it's all around our core values here at Midwest Grows Green, and we have 8 of them. The first is safer green spaces for people, pets, and pollinators. We work with a lot of pesticide-free parks, trying to eliminate synthetic pesticides, but also synthetic fertilizers too, and overall environmental inputs like water. We are also concerned about protecting pollinators, both avoiding insecticides such as pyrethroids and neonicotinoids, but also creating more habitat for pollinators. And we have a speaker who will talk about it after me, Anusha Vaish, who will talk about the importance of protecting pollinators. All of our approaches are about restoring the soil and having healthier soil. So if we have healthy soil, that'll feed a lot of the organisms, the microorganisms in our soil, and ultimately will feed the vegetation or plant life that we are trying to grow. We apply the precautionary principle. We try to avoid any product that has possible, potential, or known carcinogens, or is a known disruptor of the neurological system, the endocrine system, and so on. You can see an image right now of one of our pesticide-free parks, and that is Keystone Park out in River Forest, Illinois. And we use these parks for place-based learning. We have signage at these parks of what we are doing and how you can apply some of these strategies into your own lawns and gardens. We do press releases, we do social media, and we do more. Everything that we're talking about is ecological processes. Working with the ecosystem, the urban ecosystem is where we're really focused on applying practices like mowing high, watering properly, aerating compacted soil, and more. And a lot of the information that we are sharing is knowledge to action. So we are sharing steps that you can take today to reduce or eliminate your synthetic pesticide and fertilizer use and create more habitat for pollinators and safer green spaces for people and pets. And finally, a core value that I really value, our stress is ecology everywhere. We don't want to provide natural lawn care, sustainable landscaping to just the high income. We want to apply it to all demographics and all income statuses or classes. And that's a real focus that we're trying to stress out in 2023. And so we have a lofty vision here at Midwest Grows Green, and that is to make all public and private parks, playing fields, and outdoor landscapes in the Midwest organic by the year 2030. We have a set goals that I'll go into my presentation after Anusha's. But this is a map of our pesticide-free parks right now. We actually have more than that is on this map. I counted about 50. So we have a ways to go, but we made a lot of progress in 2022, and I'm excited to share that progress during this webinar. But before, I just want to turn it over to Anusha Vaish from saveinsects.com, who will talk a little bit about the importance of our work in terms of protecting pollinators, as well as eliminating synthetic pesticides and fertilizers. So Anusha, I will allow you to share your screen if you can request to share your screen, or I'll make you the host. 1 second.
Thank you for this wonderful opportunity for me to share my passion about the insect conservation on Giving Tuesday. Today, I will be covering how I got interested in insects, why insects are so important, what is harming them, and how to help save them through my website, saveinsects.com and livinggreenways.com. Did you know without the insects on Earth, most of the crops and flowers would not be pollinated? This means life on Earth will not flourish. Hi, my name is Anusha Vaish. I am currently a 7th grader from New York. I am an insect guardian who spends time learning and teaching others about insects. I started my journey at a young age of 7, captivated by a science project on insects, which then inspired me to research on how these tiny but resilient insects survive. I learned that insects are quite versatile. They come in all shapes and sizes. Some have bright shells, while others have soft bodies. Some have wings, while others have spots. As I was researching, I saw that insects are on a devastating 41% decline. Unfortunately, most people do not see the good in insects. Even though only 0.2% of the insects are actually considered to be bad, most people only focus on these small amounts of insects, and they don't see how over 99% of insects are actually playing an integral role in the environment as pollinators, natural cleaners, etc. Why are insects on such a rapid decline? While you may think that deforestation and habitat loss are serious factors, they are actually quite minor compared to one thing: pesticides. Pesticides, herbicides, and other insecticides kill over 1/8 of the insect population annually. Many people use pesticides and other herbicides to get rid of insects, good or bad. This is a horrible thing. As an example, just in the USA alone, over 1 billion pounds of pesticides are used each year. Not only do these toxicating chemicals kill all the insects, they also affect the entire ecosystem. When the insects are poisoned with the chemicals, the birds who later eat those insects will also get sick, and the other predators who eat those birds will also perish. This means that just because of putting pesticides on your gardens, you can end up causing chaos in the entire food chain. Also, when pesticides are spread, they often get into the water streams. Once in the water streams, many marine organisms can end up intaking the chemicals, and that could be quite lethal to them as well. But why are insects actually important in the first place? These little critters play many crucial roles in the environment. They pollinate and are essential to the growth of 80% of all the crops and 90% of all the flowering plants. If the plants were to disappear, lots of animals that depend on the plants would go extinct. We need to take action. Along with the plants, insects are at the bottom of the food chain and are needed for all the animals that feed on insects. To give an example, common cicadas need over 6,000 caterpillars just to raise 1 clutch of baby chickadees. If small birds were to disappear, there would be less food for falcons, sharks, reptiles, snakes, cats, coyotes, and a lot of other organisms, meaning the food chain will be severely disrupted. Insects are also natural recyclers, and they make the critter world very diverse. Insects come in so many colors, shapes, and sizes. They can be brown and dull, or shiny green and flamboyant. They clean away our organic garbage like leaves and dead animals. Have you ever seen a dead animal on your street? Have you ever noticed how it seems to disappear a few hours later? This is because so many insect scavengers who are helping decompose. This is because so many insect scavengers are helping decompose these natural garbages. If there were no insects, the earth would be filled with animal carcasses and dead leaves, and the world would rot. Lastly, these crawlers are great at controlling the population of the small numbers of harmful insects. These are just a few of the many reasons why insects play a crucial role in our ecosystem. Now that you know more about this global Armageddon, I hope you will join me in my quest to help save them. One solution is listed on my second website, livinggreenways.com. Let me explain exactly what a living greenway is. Living greenways are basically little safe havens for all insects. It includes a flower garden to help support bees and butterflies, and a rock garden that is home to all the ants and beetles that burrow underground. They can be made in a wide range of areas, from urban jungles to massive farms. They can be any size, from the smallest window flowering pots to big gardens. These all can make perfect conditions for living greenways. First, when you're making a living greenway, start by planting a rainbow of native plants like milkweed and goldenrod to help the pollinators such as bees and the butterflies find the nectar they need to feed on. Next, scatter dried leaves and rocks in the garden. Dig holes in random spots so the insects can burrow deep in the soil. Finally, if you want, you can create a little shelter using rocks to provide a cover for insects with wings when it rains. Now you have your own little native garden that could help benefit many different species of insects find a suitable place to call home. When you are maintaining your garden, try to avoid the use of lawnmowers or leaf blowers. If you avoid the lawnmowers, you can let your grass grow, and the more you will let it grow, the longer the roots can grow. When they reach down, which then they can use to reach down in the soil to get moisture on hot, dry days. Try not to use leaf blowers just so you do not injure any insects that are hiding underneath the leaves. Definitely no pesticides should be allowed in the garden. Try to avoid using any chemicals with the labels of glyphosate, acephate, DEET, Proxper, boric acid, diazone, Dursbane, DDT, 24D, etc. These are just a few of the many different types of pesticides that are used all over the world in agriculture, homes, etc. Also, try to avoid the use of fertilizers and mulch in your garden. Make sure to water your garden often enough so it's not too dry or too wet. Keep your garden as healthy as possible. Instead of using pesticides or other insect traps, if you do see a little critter in your home, instead of calling pest control or spraying excessive/harmful amounts of pesticides, try to find something more natural solutions to your problems. As an example, if you you have a lot of ants in your kitchen, try leaving little bits of food outside so the ants will be more attracted to that and they don't go for your food source instead. Or when you notice the small cobwebs in the corner of your walls, don't vacuum them. These spiders and other insect predators are keeping the pest control for you. This means that you will most likely have much less invasive species in your household and it won't be half as much work for you. And the most effective way to help stop this devastating insect decline is to inform others around you. If you spread the word, you could help change the mindsets of so many. And the more people who participate in these actions, the more we as a community can change this decline. This can help all our future generations grow up in a green and clean earth. Thank you, and feel free to contact me at my email, anusha@saveinsects.com, or you can follow me on my Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter. Thank you.
Thanks, Anusha, for that. I do see we have one audience member, Marion. How's it going? I know you were here last year, so thank you for joining us again for this update webinar. As I instructed at the beginning, we did record this also. If you want to see Anusha's full presentation, we'll share the recording afterwards. But does anyone have any questions from either staff or Marion or anything else before we move on to the update?
I just wanted to say thanks again for presenting. Oh, you have a question? Go ahead, Marion.
You have to unmute yourself, Marion.
Yeah, I wanted to say congratulations to a very articulate Anusha. Anusha, you did a great job. I just wanted to say with ants, because I live on a slab, so we have ants in our house and we kind of just know they're there and that's the way it goes. But I have learned that diatomaceous earth is really helpful in the cracks to keep them at bay. And it's something that you can use for a lot of other things. You just have to not breathe it, but it's something to look into for you in the future. It's something I try to tell people about because you can use it in lots of ways. And it doesn't hurt mammals or people at all. It just kind of hurts the insect exoskeleton for ants. That's all.
Thank you.
But I loved it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
Yeah, no, I didn't have a question. I just wanted to say thanks again for presenting, and I was very surprised. I think Ryan mentioned it, but I had forgotten that you were in 7th grade, you said?
Yes, I'm in 7th grade.
That's
Wow.
fantastic.
So great.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Anusha. We really appreciate you taking some time today. And as I said, we record this session, so we're going to share it after on our Facebook, on our Twitter, and everything like that. So we really appreciate taking the time.
Yeah, and then Anusha, did you have to get going? Or were you gonna stick around?
I can stick around for a few minutes, but then I'm gonna have to go. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Not a
Just want to
problem.
say bye and whenever you do leave.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so for the rest of the time, I'll do the presentation. Everyone can see my screen, right? Yeah. Okay. So I'll just go through the work that we've done here at Midwest Grows Green in 2022, our progress towards our vision of making all public and private parks, playing fields, and outdoor landscapes in the Midwest organic by 2030, and then our plans for 2023. I do want to make it a little bit informal. Would love to have input on our progress that we've done and our plans after I present everything. So to achieve our vision, we have been implementing 3 main programs. And those 3 main programs are to first identify sustainable landscaping through our Green Shield Certified for Landscapes program that we just piloted this year. Second, we're teaching sustainable landscaping through our Lawn and Land Forum that has been around since 2016. And that has had a lot of different experts in the sustainable landscaping space. And finally, we want to implement sustainable landscaping through our technical assistance program that we started in 2020, and that has had a lot of success and a lot of projects this year. And we have a lot of exciting projects down the line coming up next year, especially with our schoolyard restoration work. So each of those programs has annual objectives leading up until 2030. For identification, we want to have 3 Green Shield Certified for Landscapes approved companies each year for a total of 27 by the year 2030. Then we want to teach sustainable landscaping through 2 spring Lawn and Land Forum webinars and 1 fall Lawn and Land Forum workshop each year. So a total of 18 webinars and 9 workshops. And finally, we want to implement sustainable landscaping through 10 Green Shield Certified for Landscapes, approved landscapes each year for a total of 90. So I'll go through each of those a little bit more detail, starting off with Green Shield Certified for Landscapes, GSC for Landscapes for short. As I mentioned, we just piloted it this year, and there's already, exciting things. We've changed, revised the standards, I think 4 times already based on feedback that we've gotten from other people in the sustainable landscaping space and just people that we've been evaluating. It's based around Green Shield Certified for Pest Management Professionals, which has been around for 20 plus years. And the standards are trying to really identify people that offer premium services in terms of sustainable pest control or sustainable weed control. So they're offering smart, effective pest and weed control that minimizes pesticide use for fewer risks to people and the environment. We offer this certification for landscape management providers or specific services. That includes landscape designers all the way to lawn care service providers. And we also offer this to soccer and football fields, parks, natural areas, corporate and educational campuses, and more green spaces. So both companies, but also park districts, school districts, and municipalities. And they're pretty rigorous. The process that we do is we do an on-site evaluation every 3 years. And these companies, they need to pass all of our minimum requirements, and they need to achieve a score of 80% or above on our score practices. So in total, there are about 63 minimum requirements. There might be a little bit more since the last revision. For those minimum requirements, however, if you're just a landscape architect, there's going to be less minimum requirements because some of those minimum requirements deal with maintenance, which doesn't apply to you. On the flip side, if you are a lawn care provider, you're not doing a lot of design work. So the design and installation minimum requirements, you do not need to pass because you're not doing that work and it's scored as non-applicable. It's the same thing for the scored practices. We have about 55 scored practices for a total of 165 points. And you need to score 80% or above to receive GSC recognition. So we score on a scale of 0 to 3. 0 would be poor, 3 would be exceptional. So it exceeds our standards. It doesn't just meet our standards. If it meets our standards, you get a 2 for satisfactory, but you need to exceed those score practices, or at least some of those score practices, to achieve your GSC recognition. We also have an organic distinction, which means you must meet all minimum requirements, score 80% or above on scored practices, and all products applied must meet Organic Material Reviews Institute criteria. And you can certify your entire company, your entire park district or school district, or you can just do a service. And we'll talk about the service because we have an expansion of service criteria that we just added this year that is unique to Green Shield Certified for Landscapes. And I do want to mention that for our knowledge, this is the only certification program in the nation for landscaping, for sustainable landscaping. We don't know of anything else like this that exists. We do know that something might be down the line from the National Association of Landscape Professionals, but they have not released that yet. And so we want it to be mainly the primary one for sustainable landscaping. And so that's why we're seeking endorsements from other nonprofits, large nonprofits, and as well as other managers in the field as this being the standard for sustainable landscaping. Just to go a little bit more into explaining the sections, we have 4 sections. All services, all applicants must pass the minimum requirements and score practices for all services. And then we have design, installation, and maintenance. Maintenance being the largest section because we are talking about integrated pest management, but design has a number of minimum requirements and score practices too. Once again, if you're just a landscape architect, you probably only need to pass the design, maybe the installation, you don't have to do the maintenance, and vice versa. Lawn care provider don't need to pass the design and installation, just need to pass the maintenance and all services. The minimum requirements look kind of, a lot of it deals with legal compliance. So applicator licensing, state certification, employer right to know policies. Are you sharing your material safety data sheets as well as your labels? And are you posting and notifying the community or your customers after applying a pesticide? We're also concerned about safety. If you are applying these pesticide products, we want to make sure you're using proper personal protective equipment for your employees. You have an emergency response plan, and you have organized, secure, and ventilated pesticide storage. Professionalism. The company must be in business for 3 years, have a written protocol for training, as well as for safety and for IPM, and then also just overall policies in terms of sustainable landscaping, making sure you're only using least toxic chemical controls. The scored practices are more advanced, experimental, and variable practices that we're doing. So they're not a must for good sustainable landscaping service, but desirable. So examples would be like you're using only organic products, you're designing mostly with native plants, or you're offering aeration or soil testing service. And then something unique that we added this year to GSC for landscapes after one of our evaluations is this expansion of service requirements. So if you're a company and you're not offering everything for Green Shield certified, that's fine. You can still get the GSC recognition, but we want to see a commitment in your company or in your park district and school district towards sustainable landscaping. Ideally, we want, in the future for all your services, all your landscapes to be managed sustainably. And so to do that, we have a goal. We set a goal on that first on-site evaluation of expanding your service, either the amount of clients that are receiving GSC or the acreage that is receiving GSC services. And our baseline goal is about a 20% increase in either clients or acres managed, whichever is highest for clients or acres. But there is an opportunity to suggest a different expansion service target with your evaluator on that day. And then we come back 3 years later, and if we haven't seen significant progress towards that goal, then we can say that this is not enough commitment to sustainable landscaping, that we do not want to continue moving forward with your company for Green Shield certified recognition. So this is a component of GSC that we think will really move the needle for some of these companies to stay committed to sustainable landscaping and eliminating these products of synthetic pesticides and fertilizers. One of the main components of GSC is that on-site evaluation. We give them extensive reports for the evaluation. So we want these evaluators to be experts in the field. And we did a number of interviews. I think I did 5 to 10 interviews with different experts who applied to be evaluators, and I landed on 2 thus far. First is Amanda Arnold from Planet Perspectives Landscaping, which is in the western suburbs of the Chicago area. So she is a landscape architect, and she has a lot of experience with LEED and sites. So those are some sustainable standards, building standards, as well as ground standards. And she will be the evaluator for landscape architects as well as landscape designers out here in the Midwest. I will also be an evaluator for lawn care companies out in the Midwest. And then we have another evaluator out on the West Coast. He's in Washington State. His name is Robert Lane, who's the operations manager for Proscapes. He got his training in Mexico, and he has management experience all throughout design, installation, maintenance. We're very excited to have him on the team, and we're hoping to really expand into California with a grant that I'm working on right now with the Cal Department of Pesticide Regulation. Moving on to how we're teaching sustainable landscaping, that is through our Lawn and Land Forum and lawnandland.org, which is an open access resource, has a lot of resources, but also interviews with experts in the field, recordings of those interviews, and just links to other best practices in terms of management of either sports and recreational fields or natural areas. And so the main thing that the Lawn and Land Forum is doing is having these sessions, these educational sessions. This year we had 2 webinars in the spring, about May, and then 1 workshop in the fall. Our webinars include our securing support for your sustainable landscaping project. So that was how you can secure funding, but also how you can motivate supporters and collaborators to work with you through proper messaging of your sustainable landscaping project. And then we had design, installation, and maintenance characteristics of Green Shield certified service or landscape. We have a recording of that. That was really just to introduce Green Shield certified because we had just announced it that May. And then we have our 2022 workshop, sustainable landscaping workshops in River Forest, Illinois. And these are images from that landscaping workshop. In the morning, we covered sports and recreational field management. The second picture is Dr. AJ Lindsay from the University of Florida, who covered a number of different soil amendments and how they can improve turf grass performance. Amendments included compost top dressing, humic acids, organic fertilizers, and the like. And then we actually went to one of our pesticide-free park sites, Priority Park out in River Forest, Vitis Papadinskas in the orange. Instructed people about how he takes soil samples, how he assesses soil compaction, and how he offers out recommendations for how to improve the field without any synthetic pesticides and fertilizers. The afternoon, we focused on management of natural areas. The image to the left is of Nick Fuller. He's a little bit hard to see, but he talked about our flywheel weed management approach, which is available on lawnandland.org. And it's really talking about how we can significantly reduce or even eliminate our glyphosate use and pesticide use for management of invasive species and overall management of natural areas. So we really appreciate having these sessions, and also really appreciated our sponsors for the workshops, which included the Pizzo Group, Natural Communities, Tecterra Environmental, and I believe I'm forgetting a couple others for the sponsorship. In terms of implementation, the technical assistance program has really done a lot of work. You can see our updated pesticide-free parks. We have now about 50 across the Midwest area, and all of our pesticide-free park work is now through our technical assistance program, or TAP for short. Last year, I did an example or case study of Elgin on Giving Tuesday. This year, I want to do a case study of Ray Elementary School, because we're really committed to these schoolyard restoration projects in 2023. And we were able to pilot this work this year at Ray Elementary School, which is in Hyde Park, Chicago. We've been trying to work with them since 2019. So before the pandemic, we've been talking with parents, and we finally, thanks to Oberweiler Foundation, we finally got funding to work with them this year. They worked with Cubs Charities, Chicago Cubs Charities, to install this ball field. Ball field looks great, but unfortunately, weeds have kind of taken over, and you can see some images of just serious compaction that we're dealing with. Weeds, not weeds, all around. Here, very compacted soil, and they don't really know. They don't have the management for Chicago Public Schools to restore this area with our suggestions of regular aeration, regular mowing at no less than 3 inches, and avoiding synthetic pesticides and fertilizers. So most likely, if nothing is done, they will resort to synthetic pesticides and fertilizers to restore the areas, and that's not what we want to do. We want to give them another option, and that's through our technical assistance program. We take soil sampling. You can see the example of the soil sample. It only goes about 4 inches deep before we really deal with a lot of compaction, so we can't get really great soil cores from that site. And so we did soil testing, we assessed the soil compaction, we looked at the weeds, came up with some recommendations, and the vegetation that we wanted to grow on these sites is something called eco lawns, which uses microclover as its base. Microclover is a legume, so it recycles nitrogen into plant accessible nitrogen of ammonium, free fertilizer. You don't You don't need to apply fertilizer on eco lawns once they're established. You don't need to apply herbicides because that will kill the clover. These varieties are mowed once a month, and you don't need to water these varieties once established because clover stays green throughout the growing season. So we think this is a good solution for schoolyards once established, because a lot of schoolyards can't get mowing every week and they're not doing this aeration and everything like that. So we wanted to help establish an eco lawn mix. We purchased it from Pro Time Lawn Seed, which is a woman-owned company out in Washington State. And then we did this whole process of installing the eco lawn seed. I'll show this video right now. All right, we are at Ray Elementary School right over here this Sunday morning, and what we're going to do is a restoration project. You can see this field, a lot of bare soil areas. A lot of these weeds that you see are not weed, which is indication of a lot of compaction for Midwest Grows Green. So right now we have an aerator going to run across this whole section right here. That's Vitas, our soil scientist, who is doing an aerator on this field. We're going to aerate the whole thing. Then we're going to rake up all the weeds that we have. And then we're going to overseed it with some eco lawn seed that's provided to us from Pro Time Lawn Seed. And hopefully we're going to have some really healthy grass growing just before the winter. This is a perfect time to plant. Is in September is the best time to plant any grass seed. So that's what we're going to be doing. So that was the overview. You can see Vitas on the aerator in the image to the left. And then we had some volunteers from parents from Ray Elementary School as well as the community to rake up those weeds. And then we applied compost top dressing over about, I think, a 1/4 inch of compost top dressing over that area. And you can see in the image to the right is the bags of all the weeds that we pulled up, and we counted and we estimated it was about 120 pounds of weeds that we pulled up in that morning. So it was a significant effort. And just to put this into perspective of the work, you know, we consulted with a company of what the cost would be to install eco lawns, and we got quotes above 20,000 just for one schoolyard. And that is just not in the budget of these schools that we're talking about. So we're very appreciative of Overweiler Foundation being able to support this work. And, you know, we want to do more of these eco lawn installations, and we don't want to be, you know, this bear on their limited schoolyard budgets. So this is, you can see an image of Vitas spreading the seed as well as watering the lawn. And here's the finished product after. We are nearly done here at Ray Elementary School. You can see Vitas, he is spraying, or sorry, not spraying, just seeding with our Pro Time Lawn Seed Eco Lawn Seed Mix. Eco Lawn Seed has microclover in it, which is a legume, so it recycles nitrogen. So we don't need to, once established, we won't need to fertilize this lawn. It's only mow once a month. No pesticides because that'll kill the clover. So we think this is a very eco-friendly option, as well as it'll reduce the maintenance for the Chicago Public Schools for this field. So you can see right now there's seed already on the ground. We're seeing the whole space. Probably not going to use the all seed because we're going to come back here to make sure the site and the seed has established. This is the last step, really. Last step in the fencing, and then we're going to water it in. And then we'll be done for the day. So thanks for following us. So that was a finished product, and we planned in September, as I had said before. Some of it germinated, some of it still has not germinated. So we came back to apply some straw over it, and we expect it to all germinate coming up this spring. for that eco lawn seed. And we'll also do one more overseed that spring, just to ensure that area is covered by eco lawn seed and not weeds. So just a recap of our annual objectives before I go through the successes of this year and our plans for 2023. First, we want to identify 3 Green Shield certified for landscapes approved companies each year. Next, we want to teach 2 spring lawn and landform webinars and 1 fall workshop each year. And finally, we want to have 10 Green Shield certified for landscapes approved landscapes each year for a total of 90 by the year 2030. So looking at identification of sustainable landscaping, we achieved that goal of 3 companies. 2 companies are nearly done with their certification process. Natural Communities and Good Nature Organic Lawn Care. They have received their reports or will receive their reports very soon, and they only have to address a couple things before they achieve that certification. And we have another additional lawn care company that should be ready to receive their certification before the next growing season. And we're going to really announce their participation in that program starting up the next growing season to try to help them get customers, but also to really publicize Green Shield certified for landscapes. And we also received endorsement from non-toxic communities. And we're thinking we'll get a number of other endorsements as well from organizations for GSC for landscapes. In 2023, we have our first kind of community that is going to get us certified, and that is the City of Elgin, which worked with us through our TAP program, Technical Assistance Program, at Lords Park, a pesticide-free zone area. Since then, they've expanded to 12 pesticide-free zones, so it's a great success story. And we scheduled an evaluation with them this upcoming spring. So that'll be one evaluation, and we're talking with a number of other companies about getting an evaluation. For the Lawn and Land Forum, our plans is to have our webinars really focus on insect pests. We heard during our sustainable landscaping workshops that there is some insect pressure, I think, because of climate change and some of the other issues. So we want to look at sustainable management, grubs, chinch bugs. And you can see this is a news story all the way from 2021 of grubs taking over Wells Park and really destroying the turf there. So we want to come up with webinars and then also fact sheets about how to manage these sustainably. So that'll be our focus in 2023 for our lawn and landform sessions. And then we're going to have our sustainable landscaping workshops in Milwaukee this year because we're doing significant work in Milwaukee. For implementation, we added about 14 pesticide-free zones or parks: Prospect Park in Clarendon Hills, Priory Park in River Forest, Ray Elementary School, and 11 in Elgin. We have about 525 acres in total that are managed pesticide-free across the Midwest, and 84 acres were added in the year of 2022. And these are just acres specifically working with our TAP program and Midwest Grows Green. There's been other parks that have gone pesticide-free. It's just not what Midwest Grows Green has been directly involved in. And then we've diverted about 1,750 pounds of pesticides each year from waterways and overall landscapes. In 2022, that's about 330 pounds per year. And finally, 120,000 pounds of fertilizers per year have been diverted since Midwest Grows Green has been in existence, and about 25,000 of those pounds were diverted in the year 2022. In terms of plans for 2023, we are really focusing on our schoolyard restoration work. We got a couple grant funds for it. We want to follow up on Ray Elementary School. We want to make sure that is a successful program. We also want to work with School of Gwendolyn Brooks High School in an underserved area, but we just haven't been able to find the funds for that project. But we're going to be applying for grants, and hopefully we'll get some more donations to help with that work. But what we're most excited about is we received a Fund for Lake Michigan grant to work with 3 schoolyards in Milwaukee next year. This is in partnership with Reflow, which has their schoolyard redevelopment projects. So they redevelop these schoolyards from asphalt to green space. So it's a great program for kids to play. Unfortunately, these 3 yards have just been overrun by weeds, as you can see in the image to the left. And so they really need our help. They need our expertise from the TAP program to take the soil tests, to do an assessment of the site, and to make recommendations for how we can actually grow grass or eco lawns on these sites. And so we're going to do a very similar process to what we were doing for Ray Elementary School. We're hoping to plant this upcoming May in 2023. And associated with May, we have our No Mow May, which we also got funding from Fund for Lake Michigan. And we're working with a number of No Mow May groups out in the Milwaukee area to help coordinate that No Mow May, but we're also able to help coordinate No Mow May elsewhere too. So if you want to be involved with that, please do contact me as we focus on No Mow May and connect it to our schoolyard restoration projects down there. And the final thing that I want to say before I can answer any questions is now to the end of the year, Athletic Brewing Company is going to match dollar for dollar your tax deductible donation to Midwest Grows Green through the end of the year at bit.ly/MGG and caps donation on caps. And all those funds raised will be going to our schoolyard restoration work, supporting our efforts, our soil scientists, but also our staff as we come up with reports. And we also coordinate these volunteers for the installation of those eco lawns. So that is what we've done this year and our plans for 2023. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you for your time too.
I have a question. I mean, is it still recorded? Are we having to record all these questions and answers?
Yeah, we.
Okay, I'll be quick. Do we do you see any more state or federal grants coming along? I mean, farmers get all these subsidies. Can we get schoolyard grants going? You're trying to write these grants.
Mhm.
Do you see any of that interest in that anywhere coming down the pike? This is
In terms
we need
of
help.
state, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't do this yourself. This is huge.
Yeah. So we are applying, not in Illinois or Wisconsin, but we are applying for a state of California Department of
Okay.
Pesticide Regulation grant, and we're partnering with the University of California IPM.
You mentioned that. How much is the grant?
Right now it is 100,000 just for us, over that year and a half, and that's going to support my work, but also Leah's and Lorelai's work. But that's not just for Midwest Grows Green. That's also for all of our sustainable communities programs. We have applied also. We have a couple of private foundations that support us in the past. Oberweiler Foundation. I'm hoping to get again. That'll be big. And then we have a couple others down the line that we're going to apply for. In terms of like state and federal, we haven't really seen much for IPM or pesticide reduction at the federal scale. And Illinois has the non-point pollution reduction, but from my understanding, it really needs to tie to watershed plans. And so we might apply, but it's not on top of our priority because we're not confident it's on the top of their priority. And those are pretty extensive. Federal and state grants are very extensive to get, or tough to get.
Yeah, tough to get. I had a question about the eco lawn work that you're doing for the schools. having lived in California for years and planted clover lawns out there, they look great out there. Here, I use clover here in the garden I worked in for years, and it does kind of look a little scrappy in the spring. It takes a while for the leaves to come out. And I'm wondering how because I see the seed companies in Washington State, how much experience you've had seeing how it appears and how much it holds up in early spring. I also wanted to ask, along with that eco lawn, does that company supply you inoculants to help that boost the health of the nitrogen fixing? Do you put an inoculant in as you sow it? And also, was that an aerator only that was going after that field? It almost looks like it was a light rototill, more than just an aerator. I was surprised. I was expecting core aeration. That looked like it pulled everything up and you raked it off. Those are my questions about that.
Yeah. In terms of the aerator, yeah, it was a rototill. I don't think it was a core aerator.
Yeah, it looked like a rototill. Okay, makes sense. Okay.
And it was rented by where Vitas lives in Grays Lake. In terms of so Washington State deals with cool season grasses, so that's why we do like them, and they have a couple of companies that in this area that use their eco lawn seed. So one of those companies I know is Green Edens out in the Evanston area. They've used it with success. And so they're one company that we use. The other company that, we're hoping to use as well is Good Nature Organic Lawn Care. They have microclover as well. In terms of inoculants, the only thing that we've used is compost at this point, DK Organics compost. So we haven't really done anything, and it might have benefited. Vitas would say that we just got unlucky with the weather this fall. Because I guess there was a string of cold days right after we planted that prevented it from really germinating like we had hoped it would germinate.
Well, clover is easier than grass. It germinates quicker, which is really nice when you don't have water. But I do find that inoculation in the soil, once it's there, it stays. And most it's not expensive to buy it. It's easy to add it to the seed. You have to add it as you put the seed. It has to be on the seed. It won't work. Can't put the soil. But was this an idea for you? Well, thank you. Those are great answers. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for those questions.
I'm going to sneeze. I'm sorry. Try not to.
No worries. Any other questions, or do want to mention that IPM Institute overall, we have 2 upcoming webinars that I do want to mention. We have our anti-D webinar for indoor for Green Shield certified. Dr. Dawn Gouge, who's also on the board for IPM Institute, expert in school IPM, but just IPM, structural IPM overall. She'll be presenting. That's a free session this Thursday at 10 a.m. And then next week, one of our collaborators, Dr. Andrew Sutherland, will be talking about termite IPM for structural. And so he'll talk about the different termites and how you can manage them with low toxicity options. So we have a fair bit of sessions coming up for Green Shield certified. And then next year, we'll continue to do these webinars just like this for more information. So I just want to mention that. And the final mention I would say is if you're watching this video, we would appreciate any donations that you can offer. Every donation to Midwest Grows Green is tax deductible, and every donation is matched dollar for dollar. So a $20 donation will count as a $40 donation through the end of the year, and will help our schoolyard restoration work. So with that, thank you for attending, and I hope to work more with everybody in 2023.